Greetings and welcome again to God's Unchanging Word, our Friday edition of email alerts coming to you. This is our second week. We just got back from an exciting trip I'm going to tell you about in just a second. Last week we began doing email alerts that's going to come to you with some video, with news and updates. And as you remember, we talked about this last week in our email. There was a new concept. And we're going to go through video, news, media, Bible studies, whatever comes up. We'll be able to talk with the children. We'll be able to do interviews. We'll even have segments with the ladies, so the ladies can do interviews. In fact, it was so new, we didn't even have a name what we were going to call it. So if you remember that last week. Well, we've got a couple of ideas that we're going to talk about. One of them we really liked, and this was created by my wife, Audrey. So I got to really like it. Now, actually, I thought it was really neat. We've tested it out on a few people. We're not locked into this yet, but we look like we might use this because it opens the door to do quite a number of things. We can talk about news updates of the week, special events, little nuggets of wisdom that we can bring out of God's Bible, insights from different people. So there's just no end to what we can do. And it just has a nice ring. And everyone we tested it on, everybody said, I really like that. So chances are we'll probably go with something like this. I just threw in some graphics today just to make it look nice when we put it out there. Then I went ahead and said, well, I'll try something else. So we put it behind one of our videos that we created some years back for God's Unchanging Word. So anyway, we're working on it and we're hoping to be able to get to doing these pretty much every week. We won't be able to do that to start with, but we look like we will be. Following the feast, we'll be able to do something practically every week. Last week we began with two important news stories, and this is why we went ahead and brought it out so quickly. First of all, it was called the New Ecumenical Gathering that was taking place in Jerusalem, and it's actually going on right now this week. And it's going to continue all the way through to September 23rd. And it was very important because it was bringing in the Jewish faith, the Catholic faith, and even the Muslims into one place in Jerusalem, which we knew was going to be controversial. And then they were going to try to bring in their leadership, of course, as we mentioned, and talk about bringing in a consecration, if you will, a consecration or setting apart or making something holy out of their event. So it looked like it was going to be quite controversial. We'll see how those things turned out. So now, the second thing we brought out, and I wanted to bring it out again this week because it's very important. The Sanhedrin in Jerusalem, who had actually been gathering the information, building pieces of the new temple, they actually put an ordination on a high priest. And we talked about how that was actually an abomination to God because Jesus Christ is the high priest. So this is going forward. We'll be bringing in a lot more information about that. And we actually received emails and phone calls from people who did not know that that took place. So when we did that, that says, okay, we're on the right target. So we want to be able to bring this information to you every Friday. So if you can catch it, it'll be in your computer Friday mornings, and you'll be able to catch these emails going into the Sabbath day, share them with the brethren at services or whoever you meet with. We mentioned as we were going out about the new TV special that we're working on. Well, we didn't want to jump the boat and bring out information about a special guest that we were having in case it didn't happen. Let me tell you a cute little story. A few years ago, we got a phone call from the company with the History Channel, it was. Literally called us up, had been on the website. They loved what they saw, and they honestly were coming to New Orleans, and they were going to do a documentary on Revelation, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, because of the information that they found in the website. Well, obviously we're very excited. I called the ministry. I began talking to the members, and it was all set to go. Well, about a month before they came down here, I got a phone call again. They were finalizing their plans, and they said, by the way, how many people do y'all have meeting there? And so I thought about it for a second. I said, well, when they find out that the History Channel is coming in, I said, we'd probably get 100, maybe 200 people here. and there was silence on the other end. Now, I'm thinking 200 people in here is a lot of people. And there was silence. And they said, well, we'll get back to you. Well, what they were looking for is they wanted to show thousands of people in an auditorium, and we didn't have it. So then I had to go back and tell everybody it didn't take place. So anyway, I gave that long story to tell you, just in case this didn't come about. When we closed out our program last week, we told you about a new TV special we're working on and the new guest. The TV special is called The Constitutional Christian, Freedom by Divine Promise. Now, our guest, we actually met with him this week. We just got back yesterday. Our guest for our TV special this time is Governor Mike Huckabee. We're very elated and excited to be able to bring this to you. We had a tremendous taping. He's very emphatic about certain things. We talked about the gay rights, the Supreme Court. We talked about the heritage of America, and it went extremely well. And you're going to be very excited when you see this. We were actually in Florida on a large auditorium that he actually set up for us to use absolutely free. 5,000-seat auditorium. It's probably the biggest production we've done to date. And we're going to be bringing you some pictures. I've got a few here just to show you. So just to whet your appetite for a little bit, here we have Governor Huckabee and our team who went over with us to do the filming. Danny Ellis on the left, who's our sound man and our roadie. My wife next to Governor Huckabee and myself, and then my brother and his wife. So as you can see, it was a family unit who did a lot of work, put in a lot of hours, and got very little sleep for just a couple days to make this work. And we're going to do a little background and show you what it takes to actually put these things together. We also presented him with a plaque, and the plaque was from God's Unchanging Word, showing him how much we appreciated him going out of his way to allow us to tape him. So this gives you an idea in this picture just what size stage we were on and the light panels and everything else that went with this production. And all the equipment that you see here, the tables, the chairs, the wiring, everything had to be brought from headquarters right here. We had to load it up and bring it on down there and set it up, which took hours and hours and hours. Fine-tuning, and as we went through this program, it was very, very successful. Here, just to give you another shot, this was without the light panels. We got the table. As you can see, we're taking wrinkles out of our new scroll that we created just for this program. And Danny and I are sitting there going through the slides to make sure they work. And so you give you just a little tidbit of what's going on in that program. So we're very excited. We believe you're going to be excited when you see it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and announce the next guest, which we're going to be filming out of Dallas in just a little bit over a week. So this only leaves us about a month. We're actually trying to get this TV special ready by the feast time, in the middle of the feast. Our next guest comes from the Wall Builders, and Wall Builders with David Barton. You see their team over there. David Barton is going to be our guest, and he is the founder of Wall Builders. He is probably the leading historian in America on our heritage and our history, the Constitution, and its tie-ins with their relationship of our founders back to God from the very beginning. So we're really looking forward. So in this special, we feel like we got pretty much the best of both worlds here. You got in the beginning, the history of America, talking about the Constitution, the relationship with God, and at the end time, more current information about the Supreme Court, how things operate, and as Governor Huckabee said in the program yesterday, how the Supreme Court have just literally exceeded their judicial bounds and how these lawlessness of this nation. So you're going to be, I think you're really going to be pleased when you see this production. In addition to that, we're able to bring in many of the aspects of the truth that we understand as God's church and literally bring that to the table while we sat there, which we're hoping to do with David Barton, talking about the holy days, Hebrew calendar, and how these events fell that are so important to God, and how that when we look at, for example, as I told Governor Huckabee yesterday, when we look at July 4th, 1776, we're looking at the foundation and the history of America. So when I ask her, so do you know what else that date represents? And you begin to explain, when you peel away the Roman calendar, that on God's calendar, how that day was called Tammuz 17, which was the breaching of the walls of Jerusalem in the New Testament. And of course, there's several other dates too. So we talked about how we go back to our roots and our foundation. We look at the history of where we are. What God looks at on His timeline is He shows us that on Tammuz 17, that because He would not excuse the Jews from doing what they did when they became disobedient to Him, and how Jerusalem fell, that same reminder is for us today. And that if we ever break the laws of God and don't stay close, we will have the same fate. And I literally was able to tell him that in that program. And he was very intent when he listened to that. We're hoping that David Barton, and if you know anything about him, he literally does tours in the rotunda in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., talking about our heritage and how it's drawn from God in our beginnings. This man is absolutely phenomenal with the information and the history he has. We are actually going to film him right outside of Dallas in their library, where he has over 100,000 historical documents of this nation. Many or most are original documents of our nation. So this is going to be a really powerful program that God's allowing us to put together. And we should be able to pull out several God's Unchanging Word programs outside of the special, just simply by all the information that we have. We actually went an hour and 12 minutes straight taping with Governor Huckabee, and we're hoping to do the same thing with David Barton. So be watching, be ready. Come on every Friday. Go to your internet and see what news we have, and we'll keep you up to date. On David Barton's website in Wall Builders, he says this is the writing that's on their header. It says, presenting America's forgotten history and heroes with an emphasis on our moral, religious, and constitutional heritage. And that's where they pretty much stay confined. So you can see that there's a lot of information that we're going to be able to draw from that for God's Unchanging Word and to put into our TV special. I just took a little picture here. This is part of his library where we're going to be doing our taping on September 20th. So mark that on your calendar, September 20th, and pray that God gives us the protection to be able to get there, that this all works so that we can bring this to completion. So now, before I actually close today, let me give you one last reminder here. The Feast of Tabernacles is just around the corner. So we'll be keeping the feast around the country, and I've got the sites coming up in just a second. It's October 17th through October 23rd. The last great day is October 24th, so it's just around the corner. We are going to be doing live broadcasting from 2 locations, just like last year. We'll be in Fort Walton Beach doing a live broadcast, which we bring all the equipment from here that we need all the way down to Florida so we can give a professional quality broadcast. And they'll be doing the same thing up in Auburn, Indiana, and they'll be broadcasting 1 hour later than us so that we can catch different parts of the country in case people who are not able to go to the feast, whatever their finances, their age, their health. So we want to be able to make it available for those who can't go. Also, by the way, if you know someone who needs tapes, if you write in to our headquarters, go to the website, write in, or actually call. You can call the church here, 504-367-2005. Jeff has put together a complete set of DVDs from last year's feast that people have not seen. So if you're with an area that you can't get to the feast, we've made it available too, so you can put in a DVD and you can worship every single day for the Feast of Tabernacles. So no one has an excuse. So you can go to the feast where we were commanded to be. If you can't make it there for reasons beyond your control, you can catch it online. If you can't catch it online, write for the DVDs and we'll get them to you. No excuses, no excuses. So this year we're going to be in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. We're in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Williamsburg, Virginia, which by the way is a satellite site. It's a smaller site for people who couldn't actually get anywhere. So we actually set up a site right there with a host, and they'll be actually playing, live streaming from Fort Walton Beach to their feast site in Williamsburg. So if you can't get anywhere else, head to Williamsburg if that's close to you. Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and Auburn, Indiana are two more sites. Mount Laurel, in case you don't know where that's at, that's right outside of Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that's where we actually, Audrey and I were actually doing some filming for our special not too long ago. So it's a new site, so if you're in the Northeast and you're looking for a place to go, by all means head to that. Branson, Missouri, and Trinidad, Tobago, and Kenya. So there's the sites that we have for this year. You can go to the website and you can click on it. We'll have the speakers, the information of what the activities are. Most of that's up there right now, actually. Thanks to Bob Bourne, who's been working very diligently with us on helping to put that together. So now let me close this little segment out today with this. The email alerts. If you're receiving this, you're on email alerts. But you might know somebody who's not. You might have a friend or someone who's in another associated church. So send them this email alert and let them know, sign up for those emails because they're going to be chock full of information. So when you go to God's Unchanging Word, gucw.org, this is what you're going to see. All right, so that's the page that opens up. When you look at the right-hand corner, so here, over here, the right-hand corner, I zoomed it out large enough. It says sign up for our email alerts. So let me show you how easy this is. When you click on that button, it'll take you to this page. All you need to do is put your email address in right there, press enter, and you are done. You'll begin to getting your email alerts every week that we send them out. It's really, really simple. So please tell all your friends to watch for your email alerts. Stay in tune. If there's anything happening in your area, send it to us. We'll be glad to try to put that information out. And thanks again for tuning to this week's edition of News, Nuggets, and Insights. I keep forgetting that last part. News, Nuggets, and Insights. Until next week, God bless everyone, and we'll see you then.